my favorite Frenchman. Thank you for joining us today, Thierry. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Todd, for welcoming me again within your show, which is always a great pleasure, in fact, to share the research that I am conducting in regard of the actual context and the different events, talking about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia.
So you sent me some images. I have those ready. So I'm going to turn it over to you to tell what you want to tell.
Sure. So basically, the reason why I wanted to talk to you about the assassination of Andrei Parubi, and we will go through the history of this man. Mm-hmm. This is due to the fact that Donald Trump right now is trying, in fact, to frighten the Soros family. And this is the story of Parubi disappearing is in the context of this lawsuit. So we're going to go through details in the way that you can understand what is at stake. And meanwhile, I am making a call to Tulsi Gabbard, because if she had the opportunity to read my book, she will get a lot of very interesting information that will help us, in fact, to sue the Soros family in regards of their activity of meddling all over the world, and especially in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. We will see how Soros and Parubi were linked in terms of financing to destabilize Ukraine. And actually, the reason for which it is so important is due to the past of Soros. Don't forget that in the 90s, Soros had been making his fortune by betting against the UK pound.
Right.
And he has been able, in fact, to gather an amount of fortune that is absolutely gigantic, that allows him right now, in fact, to interfere within different states. And if we are looking in depth into the organization Open Society, we can see that he is hiring about 4,600 people that are helping him, in fact, to operate all those destabilization. And I'm just wondering at this stage if he hasn't been putting a plan together in the way that he will be leveraging an opportunity against the dollar. Mm-hmm. Don't forget one thing. There was a big destabilization of Ukraine and a provocation to Vladimir Putin to interfere within the state. And this has been forcing Russia, in fact, to gather the Great South and to put different platforms necessary in the way that they will be getting rid of the dollar. Mm-hmm. And therefore, this is extremely detrimental to the US economy, because the US debt is not supported anymore.
Yes.
So despite the fact that Donald Trump is trying to put different policies that are kind of antinomic in regard of the goal he wants to achieve, at the end of the story, what we're seeing is that the US economy is at a very high risk right now. Just wondering if there was not a Machiavellic plan in the mindset of this guy to make sure he will be taking advantage of the situation and make another fortune the way that he has been doing the same thing with the UK pound.
So just for our audience sake, I mean, he basically caused a situation to have the pound devalue, and then shorted it, and then, covered his short much lower and made billions
exactly.
against the UK government. Yeah. And he may be doing, what you're saying is that he may be betting against the dollar, and then, yeah.
My manager, when I was living in the US, was telling me, when you want to understand a problem, you need to follow up on the money. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's not very much about the geopolitics here or a conflict between Russia and Ukraine. This is pretty much, in fact, a fight, in fact, to support the dollar or to go against the dollar. Who knows what is in the back end of this story?
Yeah.
Actually, it can be also a way to devaluate the dollar and to crush the US economy in the way they will be able, in fact, to replace the dollar with a numeric dollar, digital dollar, in the way that those guys will be putting a full control on the population. Because this is what we are seeing right now in Europe. the BCE is starting, in fact, their test on their central bank digital currency, meaning, in fact, the digital euro. And we are foreseeing the fact that those guys, they try, in fact, to put the control on all the populations. So let's see how Paroubi is completely linked, in fact, to this story. Andrei Paroubi, let's look at his past history. The guy is the co-founder of the UPA movement. It's a political neo-Nazi party. And he has been co-founding it with Oleg Tyanibok. If we look at his childhood, the guy is kind of disturbed and ended up into a psychiatric hospital because he was extremely unstable. And he has been escaping from the hospital. On top of it, he used to organize his political meeting in a SS Galicia uniform, carrying Luger pistol hooked on his belt. So
Galicia is the Bandera Nazi area of West Ukraine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Paroubi is a fanatic extremist, which ideology is indexed on the Banderism. Those people who have been collaborating with the Dash Reich SS division and organized the massacre of 1.4 million Jewish during the Second World War. The famous massacre that has been occurring in Kiev is set in the Babi Yar. And actually, what is very surprising, and I have been challenging one of our ministers, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to denounce the fact that the boulevard that is bringing to the monument of Babi Yar is on the name of the guy that has been organizing the massacre. This is just like, this is schizophrenic, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, this guy was extremely close of a different neo-Nazi organization, the one that has been set up by Dmitry Yarosh, Pravi Sector, who is known for being extremely violent. The Azov group, which symbol are explicitly Nazis, set up by Biletsky. And this guy has been coordinating the effort of the different group, in fact, to contain the counter-revolution of Maidan. Actually, what was very surprising is that Donald Trump, during his first mandate, has been tagging the Azov group as a terrorist organization. And who has been lifting this tag? That was Biden.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, what is very funny is that on a internal political point of view, Donald Trump is associated to a fascist, when in fact, this is the Dems that are raising the capacity of those different groups in Ukraine that are explicitly relevant to the Nazi ideology. This is completely ridiculous. So basically what we're observing here is that depending on the people that are in power, they are completely reversing, in fact, what are the real facts. And this is typical to the leftists, you know. So basically, what Andrei Paroubi was during the Maidan coup, he was set as the chairman of the Maidan self-defense. He was the commander of the Maidan self-defense. Then he became, in fact, the chairman of the National Security Board. And he became, after the coup of Maidan, the president of the Rada, which is, in fact, the parliament. And I do believe that he might have been helped by the CIA the way that Bandera was, because Bandera, after the Second World War, has been becoming an agent of the CIA before to be eliminated by the KGB.
Interesting. So we have a picture of this guy. I'm going to bring that up. This is him. Or who is this?
This is, of course, Andrei Paroubi. We see him in 1988. He is speaking at a political party meeting. And as you can see, he's dressed up with the SS Galicia uniform. And he has the famous Luger at the belt. You see it on the right side.
Interesting.
Okay? And so basically, this guy, during the coup of Maidan, has been responsible for the shooting that has been occurring on the 20th of February 2014. And actually, he was working to organize it with the former president of Georgia, Saakashvili, to recruit, in fact, the snipers that were coming, in fact, from Georgia.
So
And
this is where, just for our audience, this is where 111 people were killed in Maidan, something like that, by a sniper.
Much more than that, actually. And we estimate the killing of more than 600.
Okay.
And actually, the snipers, they are set up in the 8th floor of the Ukraine hotel, which was just in front of my apartment. And on the left-hand side, where is the movie theater. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was during the invasion. So I know Hotel Ukraine very well.
Yeah. Okay. So what was absolutely astonishing is that Olga Bogomolets, the doctor that was recepting, in fact, all the wounded, she was saying that the people that has been killed, the Berkut or the Maidaners, they were shot by exactly the same bullet. But the Berkut were shot in the chest and the Maidaners in the back. If you look at the way that the Berkut were nassed, they were just packed up against the post office in Kiev during the coup.
The Berkut were the, just for our audience, sorry to keep it interrupting, I just want people to understand, they were the shock troops or the anti-riot police for the government, right? So
this is pretty much the National Guard equivalence in the US.
Right.
Okay, so they were just pushed against the post office, which makes sense because the Ukraine hotel is just in front. So basically, we can explain the fact that those guys were shot in the chest. Okay, and the Maidaners were just showing their back to the hotel. So basically, it explains everything. Actually, this guy has been also organizing the massacre of the Odessa Syndicate the 2nd of May 2014 with the help of Yarosh, who has been leveraging his group coming from Dnipropetrovsk, in fact, to completely destroy the opposition of this famous revolution. He was backing up the Mariupol, the Kharkov massacre. And what is the apogee of the craziness of this guy is that on TV in 2018, in October, I remember because I was in a economic forum in the Danube region, this guy was claiming that Hitler was the greatest Democrat of the 20th century. And this, of course, was crossing the limit. That is why he has been expelled from the radar and he has been pushed out of the political field, which is kind of surprising regarding what has been happening to him. But we will go through this and we will explain, in fact, what is going on right now. So how, in fact, Parubi is completely linked to Soros. When I come back from Ukraine, the first thing that I did is calling, of course, our parliaments, and I found a secretary that has been telling me that the first person I should have been speaking with was a certain person called Pierre Person. And a few years after, this guy, who was from the Socialist Party, became the director of campaign of Macron. And when I was discussing with this guy, he was telling me, listen, we know everything about that. You should not put your nose in it. We are very aware of it, and you should forget about everything. As soon as this guy has been telling me this, I was like, wow, something is wrong. And what was very surprising is that at the moment I started, in fact, to write my book, Ukraine, A Warning to the World, one day I was on Facebook, and by hazard, and thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg, for helping me in my research, I fall on the profile of a guy called Nicolas Furet. And when I saw that he was supporting Ukraine, I got a certain interest, in fact, to watch what he was writing about that. And I discovered this guy with a certain guy called Quentin Guillerme, who was very close to Pierre Person, has been building a foundation called Cosmopolitan Project Foundation. And this NGO is very close to Soros. Actually, when I saw, in fact, the number of expense that those guys they had, I understood that somebody was, of course, financing. And in WikiLeaks, with the Macron leaks, I've been discovering that Guillermin and Pearson were discussing, in fact, the matter of Maidan, because these NGO leaders, they were back and forth from Paris to Kiev, Kiev to Paris, and they were organizing the brawling that has been occurring there. What I have been discovering, looking at their profile, is that they were collaborating with another NGO coming from Poland called Open Dialogue Foundation. So I went on the website of this Open Dialogue Foundation, and I have been finding the P&L of the full Maidan financing. And which name is appearing within this P&L? Andrei Parubi, Dmitry Yarosh, meaning all the neo-Nazi organization that has been allowing, in fact, the coup.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely incredible. And digging into the story and digging, what I've been discovering also is that the famous Nicolas Furet, who was in fact the Treasury Secretary, was very close to Stéphane Séjourné, who became the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Macron. So basically, all those guys, they were meeting with each other, in fact, to summarize what was going on the spot from the summer 2013 to the moment of the coup. How Macron could have been avoiding, in fact, to know what was going on, it's absolutely impossible. And in regard of the behavior of Macron for the last 3 years, we understand he was aware of everything. What is very surprising right now is that we are looking forward to understand also that Macron was receiving the son of George Soros. And within, in fact, this French NGO, there is another girl called Colleen Aymar, who is working for change.org, and she was putting together all the petition necessary, in fact, to support neo-Nazi criminal and to free them. That is absolutely unbelievable. And within their profile, we are seeing a picture of the leaders of Cosmopolitan Project Foundation, the French NGO, and the Polish one, into the mayor house in Paris with the mayor of Paris, Miss Hidalgo. Unbelievable. The loop is completely closed. So basically, what do we know right now is that there is a huge interaction between Macron and the Soros family. The Soros family that has been financing all those NGOs. Actually, the Open Dialogue Foundation is also financed by Google. And what we're understanding is that all those great people, they are very close, in fact, to neo-Nazi parties.
So what you're saying is that the Maidan, all the way through this whole operation in Ukraine, has been closely tied to Soros and Macron, is what you're trying to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And actually, I have been discovering something very interesting. I went to all those websites, and I've been checking, in fact, their addresses. Open Dialogue Foundation is located in Brussels, 400 meters from the European Parliament. And you know where Open Society is set up?
Where, in the Parliament?
500 meters from the Parliament. So this is like a triangulation.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Yeah.
Between the Polish NGO, Open Society, and the European Parliament. There is absolutely no doubt that there is a convergence of interest and organization that has been bringing the situation where we are. So basically, what we can also extrapolate is that Open Society is just a terrorist organization that is setting up coup. And I do believe that the administration of Donald Trump might be using all the information I'm providing for you right now in the way that he can consolidate the lawsuit that he's putting together to make sure that the Soros family is going to jail. And I will go even further than that, is that I would confiscate the assets of Open Dialogue or Open Society.
So I just want to give a plug for your book. If you want to learn everything that Thierry is talking about, Ukraine, A Warning to the World, it's available anywhere, historyofbooks.com. If you can go there and buy it would be best, but it's available anywhere books are sold. So really early on this, we're good at being early here at CDM and credible and right. So Thierry has been on that. So back to you, my friend. I've got all these images if you want to watch it.
So actually, there are a lot of things that has been happening the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I want to underline the fact that there was a common destiny between the contractor of all those massacres and the performer. Mm-hmm. Last March, in the 14th, Damian Ganol in Odessa was murdered. And that was the guy who has been perpetrated and organized, let's say, on the operational point of view, the massacre of Odessa. Mm-hmm. And 2 days ago, Andrei Parubi, I was just going back from a trip, actually, and that was the greatest news I was expecting for the last 11 years. Andrei Parubi was executed in Lviv. And that was like, the way it has been done, because the guy has been shot 6 times in the head, we can imagine that somebody whose family has been wounded or killed within this massacre has been taking a revenge.
So I am hearing from sources that it may be Zelensky who killed him because he thinks that they're looking to remove him and put in Zaluzhny. What do you think? That's what I'm hearing from sources.
Regarding, in fact, Zelensky position?
Yeah, the Zelensky may have killed Parubi in order to stop whatever coup they're going to do against Zelensky, as in the deep state, Victoria Nuland crowd. So that's one theory, but back to you.
Well, I can agree with this. Mm-hmm. I would say that would be, an attempt to erase the proof of whatsoever has been executed. Yeah,
exactly.
So basically saying, no, this guy didn't exist. He don't know anything. Because when you are in a position that you organize a butchery on the spot, you have all the information necessary, in fact, to make sure that you are holding, in fact, the guys that are responsible for whatsoever has been happening after that.
Yes.
There is also another eventuality, is that the FSB might have been targeting this guy because he was targeted as a terrorist in Russia. Mm-hmm. And you remember what Vladimir Putin was saying, whoever was involved in the coup will have to pay the price for it. Mm-hmm. It can be also the revenge of somebody whose family has been suffering.
Yes.
And it goes, in fact, those two assassinations between Ganul and Parubi is just explicit. We are going to punish those who has been killing our people. So there are 3 theories. For the moment, we don't have any detail regarding who could have been having any interest in to do it. But nevertheless, this is a great news. Actually, not so much, because it would have been much better, in fact, to prosecute the guy, to make sure he had, in fact, to speak about who has been mandating him, in fact, to organize the shooting on Maidan, the shooting in Odessa, and so on. So basically, as this guy was a very embarrassing...
just for our audience sake, around the Maidan timeframe in Odessa, a bunch of Russians were murdered, burned to death, right? So that's exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So basically, having a guy like this with the capacity of speaking is extremely dangerous, in fact, for those who have been organizing and financing all of this. This is also a way to protect Soros. Then Paroubi wouldn't be able, in fact, to testify against him.
Yeah.
But there are so many convergences, and especially with this PNL that I have been discovering on this website, that, there is absolutely no doubt possible. And what is even more funny is that there are some names that were identifiable explicitly in the PNL, and some others that has been completely blacked. So basically, who are those names that has been blacked?
Yeah.
That would be very interesting, in fact, to make this NGO arrested and to force them, in fact, to testify. So basically, this is the reason why I'm saying, Tulsi Gabbard, please read my book and do whatsoever necessary in the way that you will be able to neutralize those terrorists. What is very shocking now is the declaration of the president of the European Parliament. I quote her, deeply shocked by the terrible murder of the former chairman of the Verkhovka Rada, Andrei Paroubi, in Lviv. My heartfelt condolence to his family and friends. This is the blatant proof that EU tries to revive and rehabilitate Nazism. The victim of this terrorist are just ignored. What is important is that we're saying the butcher is such a saint. Come on, how we can kill such a poor guy? This is really disgusting.
Yes,
so basically, the European Union that want to appear like a democracy with a system of laws that respect, in fact, the European citizen and so on, it is just, in fact, a demo-fascism that we are witnessing as a birth.
Well, it's very clear in Europe they're bringing back fascism. I mean, they're arresting people for Facebook posts, all over Europe. So
yeah.
It's
so
really
basically, the victims are ignored, and what counts for them is just their federalization agenda, and everything else, meaning the human rights, the lives of all those victims, and so on, forget about it. The things for them is to make sure that Russia is the enemy, and at the end of the story, they will use, in fact, this biais of information, in fact, in the way that they can say, now all the nations are disappearing in Europe. We are just one nation, it's called Europe, which is not going to be accepted at all. Because what we are seeing here is, in fact, if you do a parallel between the USSR and the European Union, there will be so many common points that we know exactly how this stuff is going to end. USSR has been collapsing because all the interests of each nation that has been constituting this bloc were completely antinomic, and people wanted, in fact, to be related to their own culture, their own language, their own money. This is exactly what we are going to face in Europe. And this entire monster, this Serbia, is going to collapse completely. I don't give them 3 to 5 years.
So let's walk through these photos. This is him, as you said, speaking with his Luger and his Nazi uniform. What is this?
This is the full schema of the organization, explaining the different link between member of the government of Macron, this French NGO, the Polish NGO, the link with George Soros Open Society, the Change.org link with these NGOs that has been supporting, in fact, neo-Nazis prosecution, like Nadia Savchenko, because she was jailed in Russia, and after she got freed and become a member of the parliament, she came back to the front line, and she was killed about 4 to 5 months ago. So basically, it is called karma. Whatsoever you are doing wrong in this world, one day you have to pay. And I do believe that people that are listening to this interview will understand that everybody has been fooled, and there are some people in the back end of the story that has been pulling the strings for their own interest.
Completely.
Not for the interest of Ukrainian, not for the interest of Russian, not for the interest of American, neither of European, but for their own interest.
Well said. Well said. That's exactly what's been happening in across in all these different countries, especially in Ukraine, but also in the United States. What is this photo?
This is the plan of the location of the Polish NGO, Open Society, and the parliament at the bottom of the picture. So basically, you see that those guys are very close, and there is an obvious convergence of capacity, in fact, to discuss with each other, in fact, to organize what we have been witnessing for the last 10 years.
Wow, that's good research, Thierry. And this?
This is a P&L showing the name of Andriy Parubi and all the financing that has been put together to support the coup of Maidan. And if you look at the dates, you will see that this story has been starting in the middle of 2013. So basically, there was a premeditation of whatsoever has been happening on the 20th of February.
Yeah, wow. And
They have been just provisioning all the necessary materials. And if you look at the full document, you will see the amount of money that has been spent is just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this is the last photo.
This is my best. Actually, I was participating to a conference in Cambridge. And I was in front of a former officer of the CIA and the two advisors of senators and congressmen. And actually, in fact, to put them into the corner, I have been showing them the proof, the full proof that you cannot deny at all, that the DoD has been financing different screen companies to test the COVID in Ukraine. Wow. And all the records are in the procurement database of the United States. And actually, on the Meshnikov Institute website, this is the front page, okay? There is Soros' name that is popping up saying, we are financing this laboratory in the way that we will be testing new vaccine of emerging viruses. And all of this was set up much before the pandemic that has been triggered at the beginning of year 2020 in China. So basically, what I have been doing is putting all the evidence on the table to those people, and they were kind of very, very uncomfortable with the document I have been putting on the table. And I say, if you really think that the United States is a democracy, it is time for you to dig into this.
Yeah,
because there is a screen company existing that is called Labyrinth Globalers. The CEO is Karen Saylor, and she needs to be here into the Senate to justify how the COVID virus has been shifting from Wuhan to Odessa Institute.
Amazing, Thierry. Anything else you want to get out, my friend?
I think that we have been saying everything necessary in the way that your listener will be aware that they have been totally fooled. And on the COVID story, and on Ukraine, and on everything.
Amazing, my friend. We'll have you back. Thank you for everything, and talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Todd. Have a good day.